So I'd like to conclude this part of our program just with some thoughts for you as we start the new year. And I'd like to base these on an experience I had last semester when I was, sometimes I get invited into studios and classes to see what's happening. And I absolutely love doing that. It's very important to me just to touch that intimate part of the relationship between teacher and student. And on this particular occasion, it was a violin class, and a very distinguished member of our violin faculty was listening. She was listening with tremendous depth of attention, really scrutinizing what this young student was doing, and rolling her head from side to side, a bit like McCavity, like this. And then finally, when the student had finished, she said, "Did you mean to do that?" Which literally translated means, "Did you mean to do that?" And you know, that's a really amazing question to ask of all of us. It's, I think it's an existential question, it's a philosophical question. It really gets to the heart of being an artist in a way. Do we consciously know what we're doing? Are we thinking enough? Are we feeling enough? Are we using music? Are we just showing our technique rather than serving music in the way that we should? And I kept that thought with me for a couple of experiences that I've had in recent months. The first was a trip that my wife, Virginia, and I made to Paris. And we went to one of our favorite museums there called the Musée d'Orsay. The Musée d'Orsay used to be a station, a railway station. And the French, only the French could do something like this, decided that it was no longer going to house trains, that it was going to house works of art instead. Pretty astonishing concept, but that's exactly what they did. They transformed this station into this astonishing museum with a permanent collection of some of the world's greatest art. We were there on a day when we looked at the permanent exhibition, but there was also a special exhibition of the works of Degas. And Degas, 19th century, one of the founders of Impressionism, who really devoted so much time and energy to painting dancing and dancing teachers and the whole experience of dancing. So we were going around looking at these astonishing paintings, these astonishing masterpieces, and in front of one of these paintings was a young artist student in her 20s, and she was studying one of these masterpieces by Degas, and she had an easel and paints in front of her as well, and she was copying the masterpiece, and she was copying it absolutely brilliantly. She was getting all the detail, she was getting all the colours, she was getting all of the figures. But the fascinating thing was comparing the original masterpiece to the student copy, because in all of those tiny little changes in brushstroke and in subtleties of colour, what was a masterpiece had become a work of kitsch. I can't explain how she did it, but it was done with the tiniest changes in expression. The form, the content, the structure of the original had been transformed into something other than that. Did she mean to do that? Just stay with that thought, because I'm going to whiz you in a sort of a geographical non sequitur from Paris down south to Buenos Aires in Argentina. And my wife and I were there in June of this year with YPO and Hugh Wolf doing a great tour. And we were very excited to be in Buenos Aires for many reasons, but in particular because Buenos Aires is the home of tango. And we went to a tango club to see one of these shows. And the show really was astonishing. It's tons of dancers, and they were whirling around, they were sort of glued together, their feet were going, and they were just simply amazing, breathtaking, and yet it didn't mean anything. The next night, my wife and I found ourselves at a tango club. And tango club, they're not professional tango dancers at the club. What you have at the club are people who love to tango. And the age range was from about 30 to 80. It's not a singles bar. People go there to tango. I'd never heard anybody go up to an attractive 84-year-old and say, "What are you doing tonight, honey?" Didn't happen. Instead, people went up and they just brought them onto the dance floor. I never saw anybody being refused. And they were just imbued with the spirit of tango. And there was none of this whirling around and virtuosic stuff. Instead, there was intense meaning and improvisation. The tango is not like the waltz or any of the other major dances. The tango, with all of their prescribed steps and what have you, the tango is literally an improvisation led by the man, and he allows the woman to embellish with arabesques and all sorts of incredible things. And it's very moving to see at its best. These people really, really meant it. And the last connection I wanted to make on our travels this summer was an astonishing visit we made to Granada in southern Spain. If you haven't been there, you have to go. It's at about 3,000-foot elevation, and the air in the morning at that elevation, at the height of the summer, is so crisp, light, and beautiful that you can eat it. We went to a flamenco club in a cave late at night, and it was a truly horrible experience. And what happened was there were these two really bored flamenco guitarists who really wanted to be on their cell phones rather than playing. There was this soprano whose vibrato was so wide you could have flown an F-14 jet through it. And worse than that, there were these people with very noisy shoes who were doing all this stomping. And then on top of the stomping were castanets. Ay, ay, ay. Really, really, really bad. We didn't want that. We had other expectations of flamenco. We wanted to experience what Federico Garcia Lorca talks about with flamenco. If you've not come across Lorca, who is without doubt in my mind the greatest Spanish poet of all time, his life was brief. He was executed as part of the Spanish Civil War in 1938. He was shot actually in Granada, and his body left in an unmarked grave. But he wrote some of the greatest poetry and some of the greatest essays that I have ever come across. And he talks about this quality of what it is to perform and what it is to delve into the very heart of flamenco. This is taken from an essay he wrote, which I just wanted to share with you. And he calls this deep song, duende, deep song, the real meaning of performance. It is deep, truly deep, more than any well, more so than all the seas that bathe the world, deeper than the present spirit that creates it or the voice that sings it, because it is well nigh infinite. It arises from remote peoples, traversing the graveyard of the years and the fronds of parched winds. It comes from the first cry and the first kiss. And I think as performers, we all want to aspire to that incredible spirit of duende, that incredible spirit of deep song. It's incredibly difficult to be in performance art. It's incredibly difficult to give of yourself in the way that audiences always demand. They always want more because they want to be reminded of the infinite, and you have got to provide that. Here at NEC, we can provide you with some of the foundations of doing that through great teaching and through great learning. And great learning and teaching happens not just here, but will happen throughout your lives. And much of what you learn here will make sense perhaps in 5 or 10 years' time. But it will give you the basis of your art, what it means with projection, with tone, with phrasing, the importance of technique, but allowing technique to be the servant of music, of character, style, colour, rhythm, blending, singing. And all of that within the catalyst of performance, so that the audience is there to provide that catalytic experience of allowing you to touch the essence of the music as well. I'm sure that we've all been to performances where that does not happen, where people are phoning it in, where they're sitting at the back of their chairs. And that's a tragedy. But I'm sure we can all remember those deep song duende experiences where our very souls have been touched because the artist has taken all those risks and is exposed so much in their art to really get to the essence of music. And those experiences are etched in our very souls. I have been very fortunate in my years at NEC to experience those deep song experiences here in Jordan Hall and some of our other halls on many, many occasions. I think that the stage and the walls and the wood and the paintwork are imbued with that essence. I think that's what makes this hall so extraordinary, that people have given in that way. And my invitation to you is, look at deep song, look at what you can provide for your art, and allow this incredible hall to benefit, together with all our audiences, from the very best of you, from your soul to theirs. Well, thank you for listening to that. I've got just as a reward, I've got a little video for you, which I've commissioned. And the idea of this commission was really to welcome all of you, either to NEC for the first time or to welcome you back to NEC. And it's really about the essence of this astonishing institution.